What happens when a gal loses her high school's writing competition? She's convinced that it's because she's a girl. Well, she decides to change high schools and poses a boy to prove her point. And that's just what we learned in this 80s classic right here. Prepare yourselves, because what better way to celebrate a little back to school fun than by reviewing this film right here? This is my review of Just One of the Guys. Bad Days, Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome again to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. And this time around, I bring to you a review of the 1985 teen comedy flick Just One of the Guys, released by Columbia, directed by Lisa Gottlieb, and co written by Dennis Feldman and Jeff Franklin, pre Full House. It's a loose adaptation of William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, starring Joyce Hyser, Clayton Rohner, Billy Jacoby, Toni Hudson, and William Zabka. The film was released on April 26, 1985, and it pretty decent at the box office. Well, let's get into the story. Terry Griffith is a high school student and aspiring journalist in Phoenix, Arizona, who feels that her teachers do not take her article seriously because of her good looks. After failing to obtain her dream job as a newspaper intern, Terry concludes that it is because she's a girl. Terry decides to remedy the situation while her parents are out of town on a 2 week Caribbean vacation. She enrolls as a boy named Terry, spelt with a Y and not an I like her name originally is. At a rival high school, her real identity known only to her sex obsessed younger brother Buddy and their best friend Denise. On their first day, Terry meets Rick Morehouse, a socially awkward transfer student whom she finds attractive. Trying to stay close to Rick, Terry helps him through an image makeover and encourages him to start talking to girls. After many episodes in and out of school, including fending off a group of bullies led by bodybuilder Craig Tolan, dealing with her real college boyfriend Kevin, and being set up on a blind date with a potential new girlfriend named Sandy, Terry manages to be accepted as one of the guys. Yes. Now, that's how this story starts out, but before I go into the 5 second advisory, I am going to say this really turns out to be the start of something really funny and what have you. Believe me, once Terry's posing off as a guy, that's when the fun really begins and what have you. You're thinking, where have we seen something like that before? Well, this would happen years later in the film She's the Man, which I know I have yet to review that film, but I will later on, I promise. But anyway, yeah, that's how most of this film starts out in the beginning. Uh, but yeah, so Terry's now been set this one of the guys now. Okay, now I'm going to go to the final act and the ending. Because this was kind of quick and what have you. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to stop this video at once. Go to the description box below and fast forward to the time below as I count down now. If you've seen this already, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. At the senior prom, a jealous Greg picks a fight with Rick, who ultimately trounces the bully in front of the entire class. When Terry's boyfriend shows up unexpectedly and discovers the ruse, Rick assumes that Terry's big secret is that Terry, with a Y, is gay. To prove otherwise, Terry opens her shirt and reveals her breasts to Rick. Uh-oh, I said breasts. You know what this means. Titty alert. Yes, you heard me correctly. Since, even though this is a PG-13 film, yeah, but I won't get into that much of that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, back to the story. To prove otherwise, Terry opens her shirt and, well, thus she does. I'm sorry, I went back. My bad. Although she admits to loving Rick, He rejects Terry, prompting a desperate Terry to kiss him in front of everyone. To placate the awestruck students, Rick derisively announces that Terry has tits before leaving the prom and Terry behind. Heartbroken and humiliated, Terry retreats to her room and writes a lengthy article on what it's like to be a girl in boys' clothing, detailing all of her positive and negative experiences. Terry then returns to her own school. When her article is printed in the newspaper, Terry receives high praise and finally earns her dream job there. Nevertheless, Terry still yearns for Rick, who has not spoken to her since the prom. One day during the summer, Rick suddenly turns up after reading her article. Realizing their true feelings for each other, they reconcile and plan another date. They decide to go for a drive in Terry's car, but before Buddy can join them, an attractive blonde on a motorcycle rides up and beckons to him with a smile. Hmm. Buddy then climbs onto the back of her motorcycle, and both couples happily part ways in the story. So, what did I think of just one of the guys? No, I've only seen this film twice. I am going to say this is a pretty funny film and what have you. Boy, I feel bad that I never did take the time to watch this. Now, I'm pretty sure a friend of mine and a fellow YouTuber on here, which I will say has revealed in one of her, well, in some of her vids, as some of the films she has rewatched and what have you. Yes. Anyway, that would be my friend, my my YouTube friend Julie Cassidy, which I give a hello to, by the way. I actually will say I actually really enjoyed this movie. I actually streamed this film twice on Tubi. You can find that film on there. You can also find it on the Roku channel. Don't worry, it's on physical media and what have you. So yeah. Well, now the film was did fairly decent, but not great though. The film kind of wasn't very successful. It only made 11.5 million, but not but the budget is not revealed. However, it would get to become pretty darn big on TV when it aired on HBO and Cinemax for several years thereafter, airing after Sherilyn Fenn had gained stardom on Twin Peaks, which debuted 5 years later. Now, Sony has released this on physical media, on DVD, and on Blu-ray. So yeah, I think this would be really something. Now, actually, when the film started its principal photography, well, back in October '84, it was under the working title "I Was a Teenage Boy." Yeah. Now that's really something and what have you. Now, one of the writers here was Jeff Franklin, who, of course, later would go on to be the creator of ABC's hit sitcom Full House, which would debut 2 years later and would go on to be a big success for the network. The, now, and at the and the film was actually the first film directed by Lisa Gottlieb. I think this was her first film, but I could be wrong though. She later went on to direct a couple other films, including Across the Moon and Cadillac Ranch, which are two films I'm not too familiar with. She also did direct an episode of Frey's Nightmares, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the series, as well as an episode of Boy Meets World as well. So yes, but she's probably done some others and what have you. But that's all I know. I have to give her credit for what she had to offer. Now, I have to say a lot of the scenes were pretty darn funny, especially in the locker room. That was pretty funny. The gym class scene was pretty good and what have you. Oh boy. Yes, and that prom scene was pretty darn good too. But anyway, from what I've seen, I think this was a pretty interesting film. I had to give it credit for what it had to offer. The soundtrack was released on Elektra Records and featured songs from artists such as Shalimar, Berlin. Yes, before they would have a hit with "Take My Breath Away" from Top Gun the following year. Midnight Star and the late Ry Spector. Really something. Now I had to give that credit. Now the reviews were actually mixed and what have you. I can't find no written reviews though, so I apologize. Rotten Tomatoes has a score of 57%, and Metacritic has it at the same score as well. So, I mean, if you're into films that came like before this, I know there were many films that had guys dressed up in drag or girls trying to pose as guys and what have you. Then, yeah, this film would be right up your alley. Now, and for the cast, we got a pretty good cast. Playing Terry is Joyce Hyser, who later went on to appear, well, yeah, who a few years later went on to play Allison on LA Law. She also would appear in an episode of Frey's Nightmares as well. Plus, she would also appear on The Flash, the original series from 1990, as well as episodes of Viper, Melrose Place, Murder She Wrote, Pacific Blue, and the original CSI. She had also recently done some other films before this, including Valley Girls, Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, and This is Spinal Tap. Yes. Now playing Rick is Clayton Rohner, who the following year would go on to be in April Fool's Day and also appear in The Relic. Let's see. And there's he was also in episodes of TV shows like Hill Street Blues, T.J. Hooker, Miami Vice, Star Trek: The Next Generation, NYPD Blue, The X Files, the original CSI, and the original Beverly Hills 90210, and more. I have to say he does a pretty good job in his performance. Buddy is played by Billy Jacoby. He later went on to appear on Parker Lewis Can't Lose. He had already recently done some numerous voiceovers in some cartoons, and also would also appear on the Bad News Bears TV series in 1979. He had also recently appeared on Trevor John MD and Heart to Heart and Alice. And let me see here. He was also seen on the A Team and Benson, The Golden Girls, Highway to Heaven, and also that same year when this film came out, he started playing Brad on Silver Spoons. But of course, then years later, he went on to be really successful in playing Mikey on Parker Lewis. Yeah, so that's really something. Greg is played by William Zabka, who you would probably know best as Johnny from The Karate Kid, which was a recent hit for Columbia a year prior. Yeah, he plays another bit of a bully and what have you, but yeah. This character, Greg's pretty good. Not as good as Johnny, though, from The Karate Kid, but it tries to do its best. But we do have lots of other Cast members: there's Toni Hudson as Denise, Lee McCluskey as Kevin, and Sherilyn Fenn as Sandy. Yep, oh, the list goes on. So, with everything said, Just One of the Guys wasn't really one of the best teen flicks of the 80s, but went on to become a cult classic. And I gotta give it credit for what it had to offer. I mean, this was just so funny. Yep, if you want to know what happens to an average ordinary high school teenage girl who is about to go where no woman has gone before, well, then you've found the right movie. Definitely. So, would I recommend Just One of the Guys? Well, I would say give it a one time watch. You might like it. You might get some laughs out of it. I mean, I like some of the story, and the characters are pretty good. I mean, I especially like the performances we got from Joyce Hyser. Especially, she really steals the show. I mean, Billy Jacoby's a real character, is a real card and what have you. But anyway, I really think Just One of the Guys would definitely be worth looking into. So check it out. So what did you think of Just One of the Guys? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel, and you know the rest. Join me next time when I review Camp Rock. So if you like this, check out some of these other films. In the upper left-hand corner, you can check out my review of a later 80s flick with with one of the stars of The Cry Kid, the original. Yeah, and that was the classic itself, Adventures in Babysitting, which was really funny. Or if you'd like another film about another kid, high school kid, but much more of a guy who decides to change his identity and goes to a different school, check out my review of the underrated but still pretty funny film, The New Guy from 2000. Or if you'd like another type of film that involves going from, just dressing up but as a man dressing up as a woman to be with his kids, check out my review of the 1993 classic of Mrs. Doubtfire with Robin Williams. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guide. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.